Hey NAI football fans, Cory Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. Welcome on in, everyone, to the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft, custom apparel and merch, the best in the business since 1974. Really, honestly, guys, y'all have got to check them out. Run a web store through them. It is definitely worth your time to get your product out to your fans. This is Cory Thorpe. We are in the home stretch. It's Memorial Day as I'm doing this, but we are right there. All I'm missing is my better half, Matt Schwartzler, who is moving and has got a new job at Dakota Wesleyan. Congratulations, Matt, but the internet at the new place is not yet up and running, so I am Mattless tonight. And tonight starts the run-up to the regular season. That's right, the conference previews. First up, the AAC, the Appalachian Athletic Conference. First off, we do need to mention that we are going to be one less member to the AAC this year, and that is going to be St. Andrews. The school closed down at the end of the spring semester, so no St. Andrews. We wish their athletes well. We hope they find their way back to the football field, whether it's in the NAI or elsewhere. But we hate to see St. Andrews go. So we get to the getting first off on the docket. First team of the season, the Union Commonwealth Bulldogs, still getting used to that name. 3-7 last year, 2-4 in the AAC. Massey and SP Plus kind of work together. We're going to start adding Massey in a little bit more, as that's kind of what the coaches are going to be using to look at the end of at the playoffs. So you'll see us use Massey a little bit more this year, more alongside SP Plus. Union, they were down 8 from where they were in 2024, and defense really struggled, dropping from 56 to 76. And, just was not a great year for them. They did have some great running backs, whether it was Jaden Ward or Taji Jackson, Cedric Irvin, helping to pave the way. Those three will be back. Byron G. and Markel Lewis also back in the defensive side of things. But you do lose Isaiah Johnson, who was good for 308 yards last year. The big one is going to be sophomore linebacker Cam Bradshaw, 58 tackles, 4 pass breakups last year, a big piece of the puzzle. They are going to, new head coach Boston Bryant is going to have a lot to work with, as he's returning almost all of his offense and a high majority of his defense. Got a lot to work with. It's an internal hire for them. That was their defensive line coach last year. So you've got to hope that maybe Union can start putting up something and building some momentum. They've struggled consistently in this AAC. Who knows? Maybe they can start putting some wins together. Next up here, the Kentucky Christian Knights, 2-9, 1-5 in the AAC. SP Plus and Massey disagree a little bit here, about 10 places apart. 77th in SP Plus, 87th on the Massey. They were up 18 overall. Surprisingly, for a team that was 77th, they were pretty bad in 2024 or 2023. Turned it around in 24. You're still seeing this net negative here on yards per play by about 0.3 of a yard. That defense was better not by much, but the offense was up 43 places in SP Plus. And honestly, if you saw Kentucky Christian in 2023, this matches the eye test. Kentucky Christian was not good on offense in 2023. They were able to turn it around, got some momentum going for that second-year head coach that they've got. We'll see what they've got going on now. Wide receiver Darrell Simmons really headlines at 1,045 yards, a big freshman effort from Simmons. Deshaun Webster at linebacker. You see a lot of freshmen, juniors, sophomores and juniors here. Webster, Simmons, both freshmen. Webster almost hit the century mark in tackles last year with 99, 15 tackles for loss, and 3 forced fumbles is huge. You do miss Eli Archer, but he's more of a blocking tight end there. So we'll see what Kentucky Christian's going to be able to do. Here's the thing, though. They return all their quarterbacks, all their running backs, all their wide receivers. You've got a lot to work with here. And this is what I thought about Union last year. We saw the same thing. Union just not able to put 2 and 2 together on that, but I think Kentucky Christian might be able to. That second-year head coach, you might see a lot of growth there. And they return most of their defense, a majority of their linebackers, and most of their D-line and DBs. So it's a big year for Kentucky Christian to see if they can move up. Honestly, this is a pretty wide open conference. Look at UPike from 2 years ago to where they were last year. They made a lot of strides, got a lot better. Got a long way to go to make this conference a top-notch conference in the NAIA, but it's a start. Next up, the Bluefield Rams here. Still a little bit negative on our yards per play, 5.05 yards per play offensively, 5.88 defensively. Rams did not have a phenomenal year last year. They were down 15 overall. The offense struggled without their big pass catcher from 23. And so while they were up 3 on defense, they were down 23 spots in SP Plus offensively. So 5-6, 4-2 in the AAC. Bluefield has just had some issues gaining purchase, and honestly, next year is going to be hard as well because you're losing second team All-AAC Nathan Hurstich, who has been so good for them, along with first-teamer Termaine Baker, first-teamer Quincy Robinson, first-teamer Nehemiah Carter. It's going to be hard. Hurstich, while last year was a down year, only 2,200 yards, he was their guy. You got to figure out how you're going to replace him. Gio Burns, almost 600 yards offensively. Hard to do in this offense. Just not a fantastic year, and the folks over there are going to have to figure out what exactly is going on there and how to put everything together. But you do have an opportunity. I hate saying that anything is ever going to be addition by subtraction. However, you return half of your offense, half of your defense. If now is a great time to kind of figure out who you are and reinvent yourself, now is the time for Bluefield, I feel like. I think this might be a year that might be do or die for Bluefield. If you're going to move up into the upper echelon, now would be the time. They may fall back into the lower midfield side. We don't know. We'll have to see. Well, we will be back with more here on the NAIF Ball Podcast after this word from our sponsors at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
And that is exactly what they do, and they are so, so good at it. So glad to have partnered with them through the years. They have been there for us for years and years and years. So glad to partner with them every year. They're a joy to work with. From our end, they help us and support us well. And so go support the guys who support us. AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch. We're so glad that they have been at our side all these years. So the top half, I guess, of the AAC, the 6-team AAC, starts with one of the teams that was very close with taking the AAC title last year, and that's going to be the Point Skyhawks. Now, a little bit of headwind for the Skyhawks this year as they're turning over almost all of their coaching staff. Nigel Lawrence gets the promotion to be the head man. They still go from within, but most of the coaching staff has left and has been replaced, unfortunately, because this was a team that was really building something at a hard place in West Point, Georgia / Valley, Alabama. There's not a lot there except for Callaway Gardens. They had been building. This was a team that was terrible and had been terrible for a long time. Up 12 overall last year. 15 places up on offense, up 2 on defense. This was a place that was building. 66th in SP+, 67th in Massey. And basically dead even on their yards per play. 4.70, 4.71 on yards per play and yards per play allowed. In addition to that, though, you're returning an awful lot. A couple of wide receivers, and Quintravious Teasley, Sean Jones Jr., combined for 1,800, almost 1,900 yards between the two of them, along with 13 touchdowns. You return a couple of all-conference linemen in Riley McLeod and Sammy Williams. Cortez Thomas, a first-teamer who was a huge standout last season, comes back. Ethan Benz, Caleb Wade stood out. You do lose, however, a little bit. Big one here is Key Larkin, the linebacker, 90 tackles, 4 forced fumbles. He was a player of the week for us, I believe, at some point during the year, and that's going to be a huge, huge loss for Point. At least the defense. You've got to figure out how to replace him, but you do return most of that defense. We talked about Thomas, Benz, and Wade. You return all of your DBs except for Keir Thomas. Most of your linebackers and a majority of your D-line. Offense is going to be a problem, though. The offense that you are building, you return few in your quarterback room. Antoine Clayton's kind of the leader in the clubhouse, but he hasn't played a whole lot. A minority of your running backs, you graduate Adam Sanders, who, to be fair, only ran for 300 yards. You've got to find someone to throw the ball to Teasley and Jones Jr. You've got to find someone who's going to be able to run the football for you. I don't know what's going to happen to Point. I was a huge believer in what they were building under Coach Zeiders. A lot of respect for him. And there's nothing against Coach Lawrence. He's just got to show first his players. Because I'm going to sit here and tell you, you've got to have the players, you've got to have the depth of players to make this work. It looks like they've done a great job retaining their talent. They've got to build on what Coach Z had started in order to continue progressing. And you could. Look, they were 66th. The team that went to the playoffs was 46th. The difference between UPike's 4-2, or points 4-2, and Pikeville and Reinhardt's 5-1 was a coaching decision. And you got to think that if this team can keep building, that this becomes a true three-horse race and not just a three-horse race because, they haven't played the front runners. That's the way it's been the last couple of years. Points been in it up to the very end each of the last 2 years, not because they had beaten one of the top dogs, but because they hadn't played the top dogs yet. I think Point could move. I don't know that they will. It's going to be incredibly difficult. And I wish them all the luck in the world. It's going to be hard. It's hard to start over with a new coaching staff. They had the continuity going. We'll see. I am hopefully curious about Point this year is the way I'll put it. Next up, the U-Pike Bears had a coming out party last year under Cory Phipps. You heard him way back at the beginning of the in winter. If I remember correctly, there was a snowstorm. It was a great year for U-Pike. 17th offense nationally, 84th defense. They were down 46 on defense, up 3 on offense. They were down 22 overall. This is why preseason 2024, I had them ranked. I can produce receipts if you want. I had them ranked. I had them right behind Reinhardt, but I still had them ranked. The problem here is pretty apparent. U-Pike better have recruited amazingly. They better have worked their tail off because they're all AAC returning of Amon Williams, Chuck Moore, and Trevor Carter. Now, granted, Amon Williams is almost a 1,300-yard rusher with 15 touchdowns. Chuck Moore almost had the century mark in tackles. And Trevor Carter had 52 of his own. But that leaving list is scary. That's a 4,000-yard quarterback right there, 3,962 yards. And 300 more on the ground. Jalen, Royal Island, 678 yards at receiver that you're losing there. 3 offensive linemen, Scott Kopchak and Smith. 1 a first-teamer. 2 D linemen, 2 DBs, including a first-teamer at both of those positions. That is just... That's a lot. That's a lot. And there's no quarterback in the clubhouse right now to do this. They've brought in guys. and they've had guys as backups. But for the last few years, Kirkland's been the dude. You do return most of your wide receivers and most of your running backs. The fact that you don't, they probably know at this point who the signal caller is going to be. At least I hope they do. That's going to be tough. Defensively, you return half of your defense, and the fact that you were 84th in the nation, that might be a blessing in disguise. You might be able to recruit your way out of that. But right now, where I'm hopefully curious with Point, I do expect a regression with U-Pike. Maybe not to like the 60s. And it might not be an actual regression. They might just hold serve. But I think you might see the competition around them shift. I think you might see Point come up into the 50s to be average in the league. And I think you might see Reinhardt return to form. Last year was a bad year for Reinhardt. I have never seen Reinhardt be 7-4. In all our time doing this, 7-4 is awful for them. And they know that. The guys in Waleska absolutely know that. Massey and SP Plus agree. They're within 2 of each other. They were slightly above average at best. Down 33 on defense. The Reinhardt Eagles have got to get better defensively. And you might say, wait. How did Point have the 64th defense at 4.7? This is the 67th at 5.68. 75th was at 5.88. The 90th was 5.59. Well, it's because you're not playing yourself. Everyone else had to play Reinhardt. Reinhardt didn't have to play Reinhardt. Reinhardt's got to get better. Reinhardt has got to get better. The good news, I guess, for them is that there's not a huge list of people leaving. You return Tyrese McKee and Jacques Colbert and Jamarian Walker. All 3 guys had a ton of rushing yards combined. They run through running backs over there like crazy. McKee had 279 yards, I think, on the ground. I should have put that. And 200 through the air, 4 kick return touchdowns. Colbert, 751 yards on the ground. Walker, 617. The fact that you're able to keep those guys, fantastic. But you're losing 2 all-conference offensive linemen, first-teamers in Lyle and Robinson. And a great combo of Cortez Brown and Keon McGee. Reinhardt's got to be better. Reinhardt has got to be better. And I think after a down season, I think they're going to bounce back. You return almost all of your defense. You return all of your D-line, most of your linebackers, most of your DBs. That defense, I think, is going to be better. Offensively, you return a few quarterbacks. Stephen Craig is kind of the guy that had the most snaps last year at quarterback of the guys that are returning. And the fact that is true means that you can find a signal caller who can move your offense a little bit better. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. But honestly, I don't think you can keep that team down for forever. So, what do we think? What do we think? Well, we're going to be boring tonight. I'm going with Reinhardt as my winner. I need to see U-Pike kind of rebound from losing all those players. I need to see who your quarterback's going to be. I'm really close to believing because you've got Amon Williams coming back. I'm really close to believing there, but after this long, or after Reinhardt's season last year, I don't know that I can keep them down. Matt's thinking the same way. This used to be a pick 'em until you can't league. If Reinhardt comes out and is flat in 2025, then I think this changes for 26. And honestly, our dark horses are also going to be pretty meh. Because we're both thinking that KCU, under a second-year head coach, is going to be able to come out and get better. They're going to be able to make it happen. Taking a look and see if we've got a... Yeah, so we've got a schedule. Let's take a look at this. U-Pike, they might be underdogs in each of their first 3 games, a playoff team. At Georgetown, at Campbellsville versus Cumberland, all 3 of those teams, Campbellsville is right on the cusp of the playoffs, and Cumberland was very good and has a lot coming back. They do play Rio Grande, but U-Pike has KCU on November 8th at home and travels to Waleska at Reinhardt on November 15th. We might know by then. We might not. This one might go down to the wire again. Looking, let's see if Reinhardt's got their schedule up. Should have done this before, but Reinhardt's going with a good. They're going to have a good schedule too. We're going to see proof of if Reinhardt is good pretty early on. Versus Florida Memorial. Florida Memorial kept with an upper trajectory last year. Wasn't as big as the year before. But it's something. They travel to Cumberland. Cumberland's going to have a heck of a start to the season. And at Southeastern versus Lindsey Wilson. By the time we get to October, we're going to know who Reinhardt is. And we're going to know if they're able to swing it with the big dogs. And they have Point here at the end of the season, November 8th. U-Pike on November 15th. Point does not have their schedule up. But we know they play Reinhardt second to the last game of the season. It's going to be it's going to be interesting. I do believe that the AAC is going to be in a position to bring in another team. They need to. Because at 6, you're one closure or one athletic department shutdown away from disaster. You need to bring in another school. You need to bring in at least one more. I want a buffer of 2, just in case of emergency. Now, last year, we did this. Year before, we did this conference strength, naming the best conference in the land. Who that was last year. So, for the last 2 years, it's been the Mid-South. So, last year, the formula was 25% pre-2023, so 2022's results, 75% 2024's results. Or 2023's results, sorry. 22-23. Adjusted it. We do want to bring history into this. We don't want to take away from the present or what they did last year. That's obviously more important and way more important than the even recent history. But we do want to bring in historical production. Because how can you say that something is the best conference if they haven't been good? So, this year it's 10% the 2022 results, 20% the 2023 results, and 70% the 2024 results. And so right now the AAC is king. They're first. They get to be king for a whole week. Likely because the Frontier is coming up next. And I can tell you that there are multiple teams who got out of the 40s in SP+. So this is average SP+, just a straight arithmetic mean. Now, for those of you who are data nerds, you're going to tell me, well, Cory, arithmetic mean is like the worst way to determine this. I'm aware of that. And that is why we have standard deviation. Now, this, I will note, is about a half a point per team worse than they were this time last year. Just something to note. Standard deviation exists. And standard deviation is how close bunched you are. If you're not a math nerd, that's what standard deviation is. How small is the distribution? So I can tell you, this is probably going to be the best standard deviation that we see. The best standard deviation last year was 16.472. The year before that, the best standard deviation actually was a North Star. And the North Star no longer exists for the purposes of this. So basically what we've done, how are we getting away with that? Let me go into that. We've deleted them from our spreadsheet, but we have kept everyone's rank where they were when the North Star existed. Just to preserve that historical ranking. So 2023's preseason, North Star had the best standard deviation. They were the ones in the teens. Last year, the KCAC Bissell division had it in the teens. Now, the Bissell and the Kessinger rearranged. We'll see how that plays. How we're going to do that is we're just going to calculate the teams that were in the division this year. We're going to calculate that standard deviation and that SP+. They should be pretty close because this is the first year of the change. should be really, really close. We'll see how good of a job they did. So right now, this is probably going to be the best standard deviation we see all offseason with 14.13. That's pretty stinking good. And I really don't think we're going to have anything better than that. So this ranks them as a 4.1. Lower the better here because we are looking for a closest to 1 ranking. So right now, AAC is number 1. Stop the count. So, man, I love doing these. This is so much fun. This is really data-driven. It's a lot of hard work to get these ready. It takes me a solid week to check in with as many coaches as I can. Coaches, if you're listening, I will be hitting up your DMs, whether it's your personal team DMs, your team DMs. I will be hitting those up. Please respond as soon as possible. I try to check all of these, who I say is coming back and who's leaving. I want to be right. I'd rather be corrected than wrong. So I'm checking these out with everyone. So coaches, expect a DM the week or so before everything comes out. And all of this is what our poll voters make our preseason polls off of. Is this information right here? I'm going to make it big so everyone can see this. A little bit too big. So this is our stuff here. That is how we determine preseason rankings are off of stats like those. Which means that if it's not correct, and you've got guys coming back that I say are leaving because they've got senior next to their name, I may not be giving you what you do. You got guys coming in that are transfers. You got to let us know. This is what we're doing our poll off of. So, and as we go to crown another champion, I'm so thankful for the champions that we have on our Patreon. These are the guys that keep everything moving, that keep the bills paid. It's the not sexy work. These are the true champs here. And they are so I'm so grateful to them for especially these old timers over here on the left hand side. That is huge. I'm so thankful for those because those are a long time folks. DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julian Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd, Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach, Lance, Josue Trujillo, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris, Derek Lowers, Jason Garnon, USF Sucks, Ian Brookshire, Joey Breckle, Coca Nicholas, Timbro, and Midwest Sports Net. Thank you, Joey. So it begins. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're doing freaking football preview. Next up, it's the New Look Frontier, including the North Star Refugees. Sure, we'll go with that. And their mega conference as they add Simpson. And, well, we'll see, because I hear some talk that there's another school in the works there. Might push them up to like 16 schools. What a mega conference. Love it. But check in next week. We'll have all the stats for my co-host, Matt Schwartzler, who hopefully can make it next week. I have confidence. I am Cory Thorpe, and we will see you on the Twitter feed.